So the first two episodes of Miss Marvel have dropped on Disney Plus, and these are my thoughts. Spoilers for episodes 1 and 2. Over 3 million Muslims live here in the United States as of 2017, and I think it is fantastic that they are getting representation in the MCU. I've learned a lot more about Muslim culture in these two episodes than I've ever learned in school or from media. Not only is it fantastic to get 25% of the world's population represented, but I can also relate to Kamala as a fan of superheroes. As a high schooler, I always dreamed of being Spider-Man and having his powers and what it would be like to be him. So the daydreaming and the fantasies I can so totally relate to. I would have rather been anywhere else but school as well. But let's get into the meat and potatoes. So the MCU has slightly changed Kamala's powers from the comics. In the comics, she has embiggening powers where she can kind of like increase her size, similar to Mr. Fantastic, but she's not stretchy per se. But in the Miss Marvel show, they've reimagined these powers as hard light. The hard light definitely still mimics her comic book powers though. The MCU probably made this change to keep her powers more in line with the other Marvels, such as Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau, who also was known as Captain Marvel for a time in the comics. So when all of them appear in the movie The Marvels, their powers are all actually quite related to each other, all based on light and energy projection. Speaking of Kamala's powers, we get to see in episode 2, her friend Bruno takes a scan of her body and gives us hard evidence that it's not the bangle that is giving her her powers. The bangle simply activated powers that are coming from within her. It's still yet to be shown whether she can still use her powers without the bangle or not, but I'm going to theorize that the bangle has simply activated the powers, and she just is going to end up needing to believe in herself to be able to use the powers later on in the series. So if we're gonna relate the bangle to the comics, the bangle is kind of like the Terrigen mist from the comics that causes the metamorphosis of an Inhuman to unlock their abilities. I'm not totally convinced that they're gonna go down the Inhuman route, especially with what happened with the Inhumans TV show and what happened with Inhumans in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on ABC, but I definitely think it is still heritage related. It was made pretty obvious in the last episode that her great-grandmother also had some form of abilities that are tied to this bangle, so it's curious to see whether or not she's going to have had the same exact powers or a different set of powers. Also makes me really curious to see what happens when we finally discover who it was that Kamala saw when she first put on the bangle, and you see all this land of purple beings and stuff. Very cosmic. On a total side note, I really like the character arc they're doing with Bruno. He got accepted into this really amazing program, and now all he wants to do is talk to Kamala about it, but Kamala can't recognize that he actually really likes her, not just as a friend. And it's so frustrating, and oh, teenagers! Let's just say I really feel for the guy. But anyway, what are your thoughts on Miss Marvel so far? Let me know down in the comments below. And then check out this video on the She-Hulk trailer, because I believe that is the next Marvel MCU show to come out.